You are listening to a podcast of the Geek.io Media Network. For all of our shows and more, visit geek-io.net. And to help support the network, head over to patreon.com/geekio.
Now for a lesson.
Konbanwa, Anime Otaku Show e yokoso. Good evening. Welcome to the Anime Otaku Show.
You may have heard these words before, but I'll teach you what they really mean.
Remember, we will be discussing all episodes up to the ones we talk about tonight. Anata go Sopora o Kinishi Nanara Soyo. If you don't mind spoilers, welcome.
Go beyond! Plus!
Every time. Never fails. Konbanwa, minasan. This is the Anime Otaku Show, episode 23. And surprise, I am not CJ Boat. It's his birthday today, so we're giving him the night off. Happy birthday.
Tanjobi omedetou gozaimasu.
Yeah,
Birthday?
that. None of us have the button to hit, so... birthday song, we... So, for tonight, back by nobody's request, I volunteered for this shit. I am your host, Josh Blues Drive McGrathster, and joining me tonight for a special edition of the Anime Otaku Show, we have Carrie, I Got Believe in You, Wilcox, and Justin the Grappler Carol. And of course, as always, our Ned, our delightful man in the chair, Raul, staying awake late Garza.
Carrie, thank you.
Hello.
Thank you for making a real great reference.
I forgot that song existed until tonight when I was going through the songs for nostalgia for this episode.
Because
And
you
I was like,
don't
oh,
know how much I got believe in you. Okay, so continue. But I just can't.
So
I
what are
can't
we
go
doing
through this
tonight?
I can't go through this entire episode just going back and singing old anime songs that I know all the lyrics to because I'm a terrible person. Can I give the intro on this? Because it was partly my idea, I guess.
By all means.
Sure. So we're doing a little special episode this week since CJ is on birthday duty and he's enjoying himself a very nice sushi dinner tonight. Tonight we decided that we were going to have a discussion about history lessons. Not really, but truly, this is a history lesson for us, the people on your lovely anime podcast that you listen to every week to every other week. We are not going to discuss the regular anime that we would usually discuss this week, since there's only one episode of each out this week. We're gonna go back to the bi-weekly schedule after Labor Day, I think. So every other week, I think we're gonna try and do something a little special. So today, we decided that we are going to do a little background story about each of us. Give a little backstory as to how we became the hyper weebs that we are today, how we leveled up from baby weebs to a #weeb trash, and tell a little bit about how we were introduced to the medium, how we grew up in the medium, how we may have betrayed the medium for a little bit and came back to it after a long hiatus. That certainly didn't happen to me, but that can happen to anyone. But I wanted to talk about the past, not because I'm some huge retro anime fan, but it's always cool to learn the roots of my friends, and maybe you can share your roots with us.
Indeed. And quick PSA, a lot of us being in our late 20s and early 30s come from a time when anime was not very accessible. There was the Right Stuff catalog, there was like FYE and stuff like that, but all the anime that was available in the United States was, number one, all of the super mainstream stuff, and that's about it, and number two, generally only acceptable in $200 box sets. We,
Right.
being broke high schoolers, took other routes to get our fix. However, nowadays, all of the stuff that was unlicensed when we were getting it is now licensed and relatively and cheaply available the legal way. We do not endorse pirating anime. We fully endorse supporting the official release now that there actually is one.
So I'll be slightly combative to the people So there, of course, is a group of anime people that pride themselves on watching anime in the original format and watching it and getting Blu-ray rips of stuff and say that getting Blu-rays are too expensive or getting box sets is too expensive from Japan while they watch it on their fancy, super expensive, PC rigs that they've set up in order to watch anime at the highest resolution possible. Hey, people, you're not really impressing anyone. Try to support the industry.
Also, fuck you.
Buy Blu-rays. Watch Crunchyroll. Hey, I'll be completely honest. Crunchyroll, sorry, I had to say this. They are not great quality, but it's still a decent service.
Yeah.
Or a decent price.
Amazon, actually great. Bad subtitles, really good video quality.
And I've got one thing about Amazon. Their interface could use some help.
Yeah, it really could. And the
I
thing
would
with
agree with that.
Crunchyroll is, like, if you're a broke-ass high school student now, like we were back in the days when we lived on BitTorrent, Crunchyroll, the base plan is free. You don't get simulcast, everything is a week behind. You have a couple of ads and everything is standard definition, but it's free and it's legal. There is no excuse anymore for pirating anime.
And you don't have to be like me when I was a kid. So, you know what? Now that we've got that out of the way, I think
you also don't have to give your computer the aids known as LimeWire.
Oh yeah. God,
oh my God! You had
That-
uTorrent, you had LimeWire. I'm not going to start
Kazaa.
naming. Oh my God!
So, well, let's begin. I guess I can go first if you guys want me to go first.
Go for it.
We can. Okay, so this is basically just going to be. I'm going to try and go as quick as I can if anybody has any comments about this, because I have known Carrie for more than half of my life at this point, and she can interject whenever she wants to. I grew up in a house that, unbeknownst to me, actually, my dad was an anime geek, and I did not know that until later in my life. Yeah, my dad watched anime when it was coming out in the 70s in the United States. He watched Tobar the Eighth Man, which is...
my dad loved Tobor the Eighth Man.
Yeah, which is 8 Man in the Japanese. He loved Astro Boy. He loved Giant Robo. He loved all these series that came out.
So like the OG anime.
Like
Johnny
OG,
Sacco and his flying robot.
Incredible. My dad loved that stuff, and I grew up just not understanding that. It turns out that I was about 8 or 9 years old. I would need to go date check that, but the very first year that Sailor Moon was airing in the United States, I was in Kentucky at a family reunion on my mother's side of the family, and I was at my second cousin's house, and I woke up in the living room to the sounds of TV, and my second cousin was sitting there on a Saturday morning, and she was watching Sailor Moon, and I was like, wow, this looks really cool. And that was it. I didn't get to see anything after that, but it was in my head that there were cartoons that had a really cool animation style, and I was very excited about it. I didn't know that I was playing a bunch of Japanese video games and stuff like that at that point, because I mean, my first memories as a kid was playing original, Nintendo games. I mean, I have a Mega Man tattoo on my calf. That's just, I liked stuff from Japan. So as it goes for every kid born from every boy more so than girl at this point, any boy born from 1985 to 1990, you discovered Dragon Ball when it was first airing on Cartoon Network. That kind of started it, but they only aired a couple of episodes on there, and I, as a kid, was super enamored with it. I was super excited about it. I was like, yeah, this is a great show. And then it went away. And I had no idea the reason why it went away. I didn't really understand how TV worked at that point. But after that, they started airing Voltron. Boy howdy, I loved that show to bits. Had no idea it was an anime. I just thought
Same.
It was. I had no idea because all the names were in English. Everything was super cool. It was just this 80s style animation that I had already gotten used to through other 80s cartoons. but it was super great. It was awesome, and I loved it. And then DBZ came out. So I don't like Josh. You haven't watched an incredible amount of DBZ, like other than when you were young, right?
Not a ton of it, no. Most of my experience with the full run of Dragon Ball Z is through the delightfully sarcastic lens of Team 4-Star.
Gotcha. So for me, I saw DBZ and it didn't stop for me. My friend that I grew up with, Seaver, was so heavily into Dragon Ball Z that he, for a high school project, was told to make a website, and he made a hugely successful, basically the Konoha Village version of Dragon Ball Z, and he interactive fan fiction, chat battles through the MSN chat service where you chat in commands and somebody judged fights. People judged your stories about your own character, and you got power level increases and new moves that you could allocate and huge written out instructions. And that was like the beginning. He did that, and he had like 4,000 members by the end of it. It was pretty insane. It got to the point that, as like me and my brothers and Seaver and our friends when we were growing up, we knew everything that happened in the series before it came out in the United States, because we were just going online and looking up encyclopedic knowledge about Dragon Ball Z, even though we never would have known when that was actually going to come out to the United States. So my actual last story about DBZ is both my brothers and our friends and I were sitting there, and we watched the episode of Dragon Ball Z where Goku finally shows up to Namek and punches Raccoon and beats him. And the next week it resets to episode 1, and we screamed. We were actually angry, and I kid you not, this is little kid rage, preteen rage. We wrote letters to Cartoon Network asking why they started over from episode 1.
Did you ever get a response?
Never got a response. But then it turns out that, they went from Ocean Dub to Funimation Dub, and everything changed. And for the most part, everything changed for the better, which is pretty exciting. But after that, I was like 4th to 5th grade when that happened. And when I was in the 5th grade, I went to this place in Pinellas Park. It was a Christian school, and I was in like this extended program where I would have to go there super early in the morning and stay in the afternoon. And I ran into somebody who had an anime magazine, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's somebody who likes anime here. And I was like, hey, do you guys watch Dragon Ball Z? And it's like, yeah, we've already seen all that stuff. What? It's like, yeah, we've already seen all the episodes. That doesn't make sense. It turns out that these people, my friends Andrew and James, were both juniors in high school while I was in 5th grade, and they were super into anime, and they had all these anime magazines, and that is how I got introduced to the world of both actual official anime VHS and bootleg anime VHS. I watched they gave me VHS tapes for the beginning of Rurouni Kenshin, which is still one of my top 10 favorite series of all time, and they gave me the entire VHS set for Trigun before it aired in the United States.
Oh, Trigun.
And I loved that show with a cold, burning passion that will never be quenched. I watched through all of the VHS tapes like multiple times at that point, and I thought to myself, it's like, this is great. I can't believe like this show came out years ago, because at that point it was like it had already actually been out in Japan for like 4 or 5 years. And I was so excited. I was so happy to get more into anime. And 6 months after I watched the VHS tapes, they brought it out dubbed in the United States on Adult Swim, one of the first runs of Adult Swim. Now, this is the beginning of my teenage years of pure anti-dub. Nothing could be dubbed. I listened to all of the voices in Trigun, and I had all of their voices in my brain integrated there. They were there. They were super important to me. And then I heard them in English, and I was livid. I was actually mad about things.
To be fair, there were not a whole lot of well done dubs at the time. Like Cowboy
Exactly.
Bebop
No.
dub was really good, and there were like a couple others that were good, but a lot of them were horrendous.
Yeah. It turns out at this point, if it isn't the three shows being Cowboy Bebop having a superior English dub, Fooly Cooly having a superior English dub, and to be like it's really in between there. I actually like some of the voices in Rurouni Kenshin more, but that's just really weird. And it came to me like a couple years ago that it just ended up being that for me, the voices I heard first were the voices that I liked more,
Yeah.
which is generally the
sense.
reason why I still like subs more than I like dubs, because it's the first one I hear before. It's the first one that I hear, and everything kind of gets associated. I have a lot of really strong audiovisual associations that I just are immediately ingrained in my brain whenever I'm watching some kind of media. So, well, there's that. So after that, I'd gotten all the stuff from my friends, and they said, "Hey, we don't have any stuff for you," and they graduated after a year of me getting tapes and stuff from these dudes. And it's like, what am I gonna do now? I can't watch anime unless it's on like Cartoon Network now. I'm super bummed about this. So I just kept on watching stuff on. I found, everybody started watching Cowboy Bebop, and it was great. And everybody watched Trigun in English. It was fantastic. Learning all this new stuff, being really excited by it. And I'll be a little private about this, maybe a little bit too TMI, but this is when Kazaa and LimeWire started coming out, and it was on the 12th year of my life. I saw a naughty image for the first time, and I had no idea what was going on here, because it was on LimeWire, and it was just I was looking up Pokemon pictures to download because I wanted to find a new wallpaper for my computer.
Oh,
And
no.
one of the
Poor baby
images titles was Brock and Misty swapping blows, and I literally thought it was going to be a picture of them fighting each other. It was not. Obviously, they were 69ing, and I had no idea what was going on because I was a little boy in a Christian school. And I was like, okay, whatever. This doesn't look right. So I went and deleted the image. Turns out, yeah, that was totally my first hentai image I've ever seen. Still funny to think about. I'll try to go quick now because that's already been enough time going up. After that, it just ended up turning out that I kept on getting a little bit older, didn't figure out a way to find a new anime to watch other than watching it on like Tech TV or G4 TV or anything like that. And I was hungry for new series all the time. And then I met Carrie and our friends Laura and Adam, and you all were heavy into the Naruto craze.
Oh, yes.
And Adam and Laura got this huge clamshell case of DVDs of the first 90 something episodes of Naruto. And you guys had already all like watched all of them, and I hadn't watched a single one. So you guys were talking about Naruto, and I was like, okay, maybe I could get into this. I haven't seen the episodes yet, so maybe I'll just go find another way to do it. So that was my first foray into reading scanlations. I went and scoured the internet for Naruto. I want to find it. I want to read it, or I want to watch it. And I found this MSN site that had the first 250 chapters of Naruto up on it, and I was like, yeah, let's do this. And I read past the point where the anime was, and started confusing people with the stuff that I was talking about. And it's like, oh shit, this is bad. But it was at that point that people were like, hey, do you want to watch the rest of these episodes? They gave me the DVDs, and I was watching them, and I got all the way to the point where the DVDs ended, and I was like, there's more episodes after this. There's like 50 more episodes after this. What am I gonna do? I can't remember who it was. It was one of the friends in that group, but they said, why don't you just go on BitTorrent and find them? What's BitTorrent? That was when the race began. It was really kind of hilarious. I became that kid that would buy DVD-Rs, like full spools of DVD-Rs, and I would be the anime supplier to people.
Yeah, he was my dealer.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you want some Hikaru no Go? I got some Hikaru no Go. You want some Shaman King? I got the Shaman King. And I would just
you gave me Shaman King and I think FMA.
Yeah, FMA and Hikaru no Go and Final Fantasy VII Advent Children.
Yep.
And I found all these sites, and I think the only bad thing I ever actually did with my pirating skills is that I was very poor. My parents did not give me a lot of spending money whatsoever. And the only thing that I ever got was like, oh, it's stuff for the computer at home, you can take that. So I would get blank DVD-Rs. And I had some friends in college, because I started college really early. I was like 15. And a friend of mine in chorus said, hey, have you watched Final Fantasy VII Advent Children? And I said, yeah, I actually have it. Do you want a copy? And he said, what? You have it already? It's not even out on DVD. He's like, that's where you're wrong, Fred. And I sold a burned DVD of Final Fantasy VII Advent Children for $10 so I could get lunch that day. And that was the actual bad thing that I did. I haven't done anything stupid like that in a very long time, thankfully. That was 13 years ago.
Hopefully past the statute of limitations, but
oh yeah, way past.
We do not endorse doing this. This is all in the past.
It was a literal stupid thing.
We didn't know any better and didn't have any other options.
Yeah, hashtag growing up Poe. That was, well.
Hashtag young and stupid.
Stable. Yeah,
this was before a lot of this stuff got licensed too.
Absolutely.
Like the Naruto anime, when we watched it, was not licensed in the United States.
Also, some of like the stuff that was licensed, like Shaman King, the dub was garbage and for kids.
Oh my God.
The One Piece dub was for kids and garbage. Everything was bad. Everything was bad at that point. Like, we had better dubs before that, and then something like the Union crashed and everything went to shit. So, I kept on torrenting stuff until I became an adult, and then I was like, I could just pay for Crunchyroll. There was a lot of controversy with Crunchyroll when it first came out, because they were actually torrenting and pirating anime and selling it off like a product, and they were completely unlicensed. And then they finally, went legit. And it got to the point that I got really tired of having to download episodes one at a time and sitting at my computer on my ass for like 4 hours to watch episodes of a series, when I could just sit on the couch and watch it on, a PS3 or a PS4 or whatever, and got used to it. And finally I haven't towards an episode of anime in years. So, I mean, that's like my history lesson about me. That went on a little bit longer than I expected, but that's me. That's my anime life. Oh, also, geez, I've been going to conventions for the last 13 years. I've met some of the best people that I've ever known in my entire life through conventions. Josh and Carrie are literally two of my greatest friends. I met Carrie through Naruto, and met Josh technically through Naruto as well. So it's kind of crazy that a series literally brought some of the greatest people I know into my life, and I am always going to be forever grateful to the medium because of that.
Well said.
Who's next?
I guess I can go next. All right, so
dig deep, Raul. I want to know your stories.
All right, really, really deep. Okay, first anime ever, Sailor Moon, Cartoon Network. And at first it's just like, oh, they're just fighting week to week. It's villain of the week. And then I'm like, this has story. This has substance. And I'm like, wow, there's more anime. Then Dragon Ball Z came out. And my first taste of Dragon Ball Z was Tree of Might.
Oh, man.
At I think it must have been maybe 4 or 5 in the morning on Fox.
That sure sounds like it.
Sounds
Yeah.
like a fucking trip, is what that sounds like.
Yeah, because they used to, on Fox, they used to have like this like cartoon block really early in the morning. Well, early in the morning for me at the time when I was like maybe 10 or 11. But yeah, it went from Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, and then it had just trying to remember the lineup back then. Trigun was in the evenings on Adult Swim.
There
Outlaw
had to be
Star.
some Yu-Gi-Oh thrown in there.
Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is that I wasn't able to watch Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon because it was on the WB back in the day. Now it's the CW, whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
Until they brought it over to Cartoon Network. Like the only chances I got to watch even a little bit of that is in Spanish. Which the Spanish opening for Dragon Ball Z, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Which I think
a little bit.
I think it might be more like the original than the actual the English version. But yeah, so I went through all that and then I'm like, hey, what's this Adult Swim? Cowboy Bebop. Like a lot of ours going to be similar because English anime back in the day was very difficult to get a hold of. I remember a friend picking up a single DVD of Tenchi Muyo. Oh, I forgot about Tenchi.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that show was a trip and a half.
My first taste of the harem anime.
Oh my god. Oh, jeez. Can I interject one thing?
Go for it.
Okay, so it was showing on Toonami as a really, really butchered, cut down version, right? Because they wanted to show it like an action anime, right?
Oh,
And they cut down so much stuff. And
is
so
that
much
why
of
it
the
made
romance
no
and stuff like
sense
that.
whatsoever?
And a lot of it made zero sense. So me and my cousins got really into Tenchi Muyo. I think it was like this new awesome thing that we could follow after DBZ. And we started looking up Tenchi Muyo messages, like image boards and stuff like that, and found like the raunchiest, like etchy kind of like wallpapers. And we found this picture, and my aunt found it. It's like, you guys aren't allowed to watch the television show anymore. It'll make you think bad things. And then we were banned from watching it.
Oh,
Damn it.
And then the glorious of the mech animes, Gundam Wing.
Oh, Gundam Wing.
Oh my!
Which, by the way, hasn't aged
Shred
well
your
at all.
invitation to your fucking birthday party. I'll kill you.
That show has not aged well, other than the memes, to be honest. Endless Waltz, however, fantastic.
Oh yes, I remember that. Gundam Wing, Endless Waltz, 8th MS Team.
Oh,
Are you okay?
You hit a nerve.
So I watched it as a kid, and of course it was on Toonami, so it was massively butchered. I watched
No,
it.
wait. 8th MS Team, wasn't that on Adult Swim?
No, they did it in Toonami first, and then they did it on Adult Swim. There was a weird cut. That's what I remember there being a cut for, and I remember loving the show. And then I watched it again as an adult, and I was watching it on break at work, and I cried like ugly cried at work at the end of that series.
Oh,
Sitting at my desk, ugly crying. I fucking love that series. The Team is the best best Gundam. Fight me.
you had Stardust Memories, which I believe was from the other side, right? Or was that War in My Pocket?
Those are all Universal Century.
Yeah, because there was one where they created two Gundams and one was stolen, and there's one where it was from the little boy's perspective, but from the Zeons.
That's War in the Pocket.
Yeah,
from the young kids' perspective,
and
right?
yeah, from the young kids.
Yeah,
and like at the time, it was like crazy at my school. It was just Gundam because it was action. And yeah, you're right. It did not age
It's
well.
a Gundam.
Yeah.
What about Gundam da?
Oh man, I remember I couldn't stay up that late, so I would put the VCR to record.
Good call.
So that's how I would get a lot of like Cowboy Bebop, Trigun. What else did they have at night? I remember when they started doing uncut versions of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, that was great. Like the actual like VHS or DVD versions that
Yeah.
they would put out. Yeah.
And I remember
Actual-
for the
actual
longest time,
curse words.
yeah, for the longest time, me and my brother had a copy because I think Cartoon Network went up to right before, like, the beginning of the Boo Saga.
And then they went back.
And then they went back, but me and my brother got a VHS copy, the original, official, of Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Like
Nice.
3 episodes of him transforming. So
This is to go further beyond.
Yeah, that's about how long it took. 2 to 3 episodes.
yeah. And then came college, where I met my Magic the Gathering friends, which they were also into anime, and they had the spool of DVDs of, let's see, they had Fullmetal Alchemist, Fruits Basket, and then we had a hard drive. One of my friends had an external hard drive with Naruto on it that we called the hard drive Lacey, because that was the name of the brand. So we just like, yeah, it's up on Lacey. Or whenever we'd get new anime, we'd just throw it up on Lacey. We'd pop the CD in and download it into the external. But their introduction to me, the one fight that you show everyone when you're trying to get them into Naruto, Lee versus Gaara.
Absolutely.
That's what got me into the series. That's what them talking to me is like, dude, he takes off the ankle weights and then he does the shit and then he fights and it's awesome.
Well,
And I'm
first,
like, go ahead.
First it was Haku versus Zabuza, and then Gaara versus Rock Lee came out, and that is still the iconic fight in that entire series.
Kino. Good shots. Real good cinematography. Great animation.
And then, oh man. But yeah, I mean, I pretty much lived in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I know
You still do. You live in Texas.
True.
Oh,
True. Like, I remember having to download Bleach episodes on dial-up.
Oh God, I'm
Ooh.
sorry, Raul.
So that took what, 3 or 4 years?
That's why I had Justin.
Yeah, so like this real quick, the reason I was able to like be the anime supplier for this was that I had full control of all the computers in the house because nobody cared about them and I was the only person that could keep them up for other people. So I got to use whatever bandwidth I wanted to use. So I would just like, here's 40 torrents and leave it overnight for the next 6 days. Nobody cared.
Oh, talking about leaving it overnight. I can't say where, but I had a workplace that I used to. We all did it. I'm going to throw them all under the bus. We all did it for one thing or the other. Every week, the new episode would come out. We'd download it, watch it, nuke it, and then just like Naruto, like 20%, 40% of each Naruto episode was filler.
Oh, of course.
So we just watch it, skip through it a little bit. Like, okay, that's good. That's how I started. I started reading Death Note that way. Each week, each chapter. And then the anime came out, and I started downloading that. But yeah, I mean, it was just finding something that wasn't week to week, villain of the week kind of deal, where it actually had a story, character development. I'm like, wow, this is good. Voice acting could use some help. But yeah, I mean, I saw pretty much everything that was on the mainstream for kids. Digimon. I forgot about Digimon. I remember Digimon was huge.
Absolutely huge.
Which I still need to.
Digimon.
Yeah, I still
Digimon.
need to watch the, I guess, the unedited version of the Pokemon of the Digimon movie.
Which one? There's several now.
No, but
And
like
another one coming out.
of the first two, the first two seasons. Wasn't that like two movies that they had butchered?
Oh yeah. The first Digimon movie is something special.
I watched. So, the first Digimon movie was the second anime movie I'd ever seen in the theaters, and I loved it because I was a kid and I didn't give a shit. I was with my friends. We had pizza. We watched the Digimon movie. We had a sleepover. It was fucking awesome.
That is like the quadfecta of amazing childhood right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Friends, pizza, movie, and sleepover.
it's the best.
Yep. And then I got some VHS tapes from a cousin of mine. Devilman, like the first two episodes of Devilman.
Whoa.
Guyver.
Oh.
Ghost of the Shell.
You guys need to watch the VOD just to see Justin's face right now.
I'm just impressed with the stuff you got to watch as a young person.
Well, I mean, they just it's just cartoons. Yeah, I think it was like one or two episodes of Devilman, or maybe it was
If it was the first two episodes of Devilman, you got to see the most ridiculous parts of Devilman. You
yeah.
get to see the club scene. That shit is ridiculous in every iteration of fucking Devilman.
I remember.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't
Okay,
remember the club scene, but I remember him fighting the giant bird harpy. And then came all the anime from G4 Tech TV at night when we finally got satellite. And all that stuff was like just broken to me because I could never watch it every single night. Which I think
Okay.
it was what? Silent Mobius? Can't remember because it was just so long ago. Like it didn't really resonate because it's just like I didn't get to watch it every single day. But yeah, got to college, did download a few things, but what I ended up doing was I downloaded the entire 14 gigs of Gundam Wing.
Dang.
It took all weekend.
I bet.
Now I
But I
sneeze
bet
at
it was worth it.
Yeah, I sneeze at 14 gigs now.
Carrie, do you remember about the day that I screamed about one of the episodes during the Sound 4 arc where I was super excited because my broadband internet hit 10 megs a second downloading an episode.
That's
I was-
adorable.
We downloaded the episode in like 4 minutes instead of like 6 hours because there was like 46,000 seeds on it. So I was like, oh yeah, we don't have to wait any time to watch this episode. We're gonna watch it right now.
I don't remember that at all, but it sounds like something we all probably got super excited about one Wednesday night.
Really stupidly excited.
I remember also downloading like episode to episode of Bleach.
That was Bleach. What a thing. I want to talk about that later.
But yeah, I mean, as soon as I found like Crunchyroll, it was just like, oh wow, I mean, I can watch all this anime. And then Netflix put on a good selection of anime. One I remember from G4, it was Duel Adventure in a Parallel World.
Yes. That series is fantastic.
Yeah, and what's great is that I actually got the DVDs from Netflix through the service that they first started.
Nice.
Yeah, remember when Netflix was like male blockbuster?
Yes. And then the evenings.
Raul,
Yes.
did you know that Duel is a parallel version of Tenchi Muyo?
What?
Yeah. Go read the Wikipedia article on it. it is directly linked to Tenchi Muyo.
Because I think it's only, what, 6 episodes?
It's a short series.
Yeah. But it's like, I wanted more of it because it was like...
Oh, it's 14 episodes. Yeah. It is... Yeah, it is straight up connected to it. Trying to find the... confirmed by the creator of Tenchi Muyo, the two series are related and in fact occur in the same universe. A mecha confirmed in the Tenchi Muyo GPX novels is found to be the Zinj, which is the mech from Duel.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, anime is great because, like, once it started coming up on Netflix streaming, I'm like, wait, there's other types of anime? They're like, it's just not action. There's horror. There's harem anime. There's what's Sojo? I think that's how you put it.
So
Shoujo.
many harem anime.
Shoujo is more of a, I would say, a demographic, just like shonen is a demographic. I would say that the most important classification that you can give to anime is that if there is a genre or if there is a subject, there's an anime about it.
Yeah, and then I saw the Studio Giblet stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's like Whisper of the Heart, which was amazing.
Studio Giblet.
Giblet. Drink. I don't know if that's what drink's used for, I'll be honest.
Yes,
Yeah,
they
it
are.
is.
Okay.
Let's see. Spirited Away, which was huge, which was like what really... I think that's what really tipped the anime in the US, was Spirited Away.
Yeah, I can see that being one of the tipping points for sure.
Well,
Was it-
one of the
'Cause it was
tipping points into a...
Into the mainstream because it was considered such a highly artistic film and not like animation, no matter what country it's from, really struggles to be recognized as artistic in America.
Yeah, and then that tipped the bug, and then everything came over. Princess Mononoke, House Moving Castle,
Totoro.
Totoro.
Totoro was so tough.
And Death God.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much most of my anime experience. I mean, I picked up a couple mangas of Hellsing, trying to figure out which Hellsing to watch, Hellsing Ultimate or the original.
Hellsing Ultimate every time. God, the original Hellsing series is... Okay, I'll be honest. Original Hellsing series, garbage. You know what's great about the original Hellsing series? The opening song and the ending song are both amazing.
Yeah. But what's bad is that watching the Hellsing Ultimate abridged, I can't go back to watch the original.
Nope. There's no reason to.
Because, I mean, it's more or less true. I mean, it stays...
You
It's
get
just
all
that-
you get all the important plot points.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, they
super
make
hilarious.
Alucard more of an asshole than he is in the actual series.
I can no longer look at Gendo without my brain going, it's Gendo.
One of our friends cosplayed as Gendo, and people
So
kept
good.
yelling that at him, and I got really confused because I hadn't seen that song yet.
And anime conventions, I've never really been to. Like, I can't go to San Japan because it's Labor Day weekend. But then again, Dragon Con, you get everything. So it's like, oh, you're dressed up as the Sailor Scouts, you're dressed up as so-and-so. It's just like, holy crap. And
Overload.
yes. And then what's great is that, like, anime has also gone into just not the art style. Well, yeah, I guess the art style into movies. The Matrix, heavily inspired by anime.
Heavily.
Yeah, they've actually said Ghost in the Shell. I mean, Cyberpunk. Yeah, you can't really. You can trace most Cyberpunk back to Ghost in the Shell. But yeah, it's like I can't remember which other ones, but like you can see the inspiration there. Firefly, Cowboy Bebop in space.
I mean, Cowboy Bebop is in space.
Hey,
Yes.
Cowboy Bebop live action.
Yes, live action Cowboy Bebop. That's what I was trying to say. I'm gonna drink.
Oh, while you're
That
drinking,
bottle's not empty yet.
No, this is a new bottle.
Oh God.
this is a bourbon barrel aged stout that I got randomly while I was
Ooh.
at Publix the other day. It's called Dragon's Milk, and it's one of the best damn beers I've gotten from a supermarket in a really long time. It is 11% ABV. It's pretty amazing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Next
I've
time,
heard of that stuff, but
next time I go there, I need that.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Is it year round or just seasonal?
I have no idea. I don't even know I don't know where New Holland Brewing Company is, to be honest.
Probably Michigan, because there's a Holland, Michigan.
I'll just have to look that up. Yep, you're correct.
Carrie knows things.
And
She
yeah, I
nerdy
mean,
and she knows
anime's
things.
pretty much led me here. I mean, hey,
Hi.
we're all fans of a of good story, good character development, even though sometimes it doesn't happen.
Looking at you, Junie Tyson.
Okay, it had one good episode in Junie Tyson.
No, that series had 4 good episodes, okay? It's the first 2 and the last 2.
No, was Tiger versus Ox one of the last 2, because that episode was actually good.
That was one of the last 3. So, first 2, last 3. Everything in the middle was garbage.
And then
Josh?
There's good shows and there's bad shows, just like with anything.
Indeed.
Yeah.
There's good acting, bad acting.
I could tell you that I have dropped more shows than I have completed.
Yeah, because like sometimes it's like, okay, this show's good. I'm going to see where it's going.
Oh God, why?
Yeah, why did I watch this 6 episodes in? I mean, it's just not.
What the fuck, Crancrest?
I try to give every show the 3-episode try. That's like
3
the
episodes.
anime reviewer. That's the anime reviewer code of conduct. If you don't give one series 3 episodes, you aren't doing a due diligence.
Yeah, because 3 episodes you should
Unless
get.
it's Black Clover.
I'll still stand behind that manga, but God, that anime is garbage.
That the 3 episodes should get you into the past the intro arc, and at least into the first arc. Because usually most intro arcs are at least 2 episodes long.
But do you know what bad animes have? Bad 3-episode long intro arcs, and that's what makes me drop them.
Or if you're like School Days, I mean, I'm already this many episodes in, I might as well finish it.
Nice boat, Raoul.
Yeah, that's just bad.
God, what a phenomenon that was. What a weird shit time in anime.
Felix is still messed up from watching that show.
Yeah, I remember his 3 a.m. rants at me about it.
Nice boat.
Yep. And then I showed him Magical Girl Ore, and it's just like, why am I still watching this stupid show? Why are we finishing this stupid show? What do you mean, the manager?
I wish I could have been there for that reaction.
It was amazing. Like when he like, wait, what? It's just like that realization. I had been waiting so long for that reaction.
I can see that reaction too.
All right, I think I've talked enough on my side. Carrie?
Who's next?
Carrie or Josh?
Josh, go.
No, Carrie, go.
Why?
Because.
Okay, so I have said for a long time that Sailor Moon was my first anime. I was home during summer vacation chatting with my friend Maz on AOL Instant Messenger back when I actually had AOL, and Toonami was playing literally nothing but Sailor Moon 24/7. And so I would watch it in the other room and come back on commercial breaks and talk to Maz. Um, but it was not my first anime because I randomly remembered before we even mentioned it on the show that my school had a VHS copy of My Neighbor Totoro, and I was obsessed with it. And I never got to watch the whole thing, and my mom never wanted to rent it from Blockbuster. And so finally one day I convinced her to rent it for me because like we would get like 2 or 3 movies, right? And there was always one for her, and then I would get to pick one. Usually we would watch it together. Sometimes I would watch it by myself, and then there was like a both of us pick. And I actually got her to rent it for me, and she never rented it for me again because I don't think she got it. But that was my first anime when I was in like elementary school.
Oh.
And then after that, sadly, I never knew that like Adult Swim and all that stuff existed, so I never got to watch any of like the Trigun and Cowboy Bebop and stuff when it aired on television. But I did get to watch the Sailor Moon marathons and saw most of it that way actually. Like I got pretty much through most of what was available in the United States, if not all of it. Obviously watched Pokemon, watched Card Captors on the WB, Digimon Frontiers I watched, because that was what was on, and hey, transforming superheroes. I love transforming superheroes. This is awesome. And then kind of got out of anime for a little while. And then I got into middle school and made one of the best friends in my entire life to this day. And she introduced me to a video game called The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. I convinced my mom to let me save up for a Nintendo 64 and played the fuck out of that game. She and I almost failed 8th grade PE because we would get out on purpose when playing dodgeball so we could sit in the shade and talk about Zelda.
That's legit.
And
Legit adorable.
so I got super into Zelda, and this was right around the time that we first got internet, and it was AOL. This was around the same time as watching Sailor Moon. It was AOL. It was garbage. It was hot garbage, and I was finding things slowly but surely, like Overclocked Remix. I was finding art online, like fan art and stuff, and I found fanfiction.net. And I was like, oh, everybody's reading all of this stuff, or everybody's writing all this stuff, so I can like read more things about the characters I love. Found my first erotic fan fiction that way, had no idea what was going on. I was like, why would anybody want to read this? This is terrible. And I left a comment being like, you shouldn't have put this scene in there.
Wow, I didn't even think about that. That a real similar thing happened to me when I was looking up Gundam Wing fan fiction. That was the first time I ever saw yaoi. I just didn't know.
And
because of course it was yaoi and Gundam Wing.
Of course.
And so I found this fan fiction that was a retelling of Revolutionary Girl Utena, but with the Zelda cast. And I had never seen Utena before, but it was about Zelda, and so I was like, sure, I'll read it. Why not? I'll give it a chance because the author was really highly rated. And I was like, and she said that it was based off that show. I was like, I don't know what this is, but it sounds really cool. And when I was visiting my family in Michigan, my great aunt, who is closer in age to my mom than my grandma, was like, hey, I hear you're into like nerdy things. There's this awesome media store that like we didn't have down south, and I forget what it's called, but she's like, there's an entire like section dedicated to anime. And so I took my spending money and I found the first 2 Utena DVDs. and bought them.
Nice.
So I went straight from like Sailor Moon, Pokemon, Zelda to Utena.
I've never
Hey,
seen
yo, you
that.
want to watch a bitch turn into a car? We got bitches turning into cars.
Wait,
That was the movie.
Is that
That
the
was the-
car anime?
Well, okay, so Utena is a highly metaphorical series, but you can just watch it straight and just pretend it's an acid trip too. It's typical evil student council rules the school, and they're dueling each other in order to get the power to revolutionize the world. And they do so through this Rose Bride, who is a living human being woman that they're fighting over possession of in these duels. And the heroine is a girl by the name of Utena who doesn't want to be the princess everybody saves. She wants to be the prince who saves the princess. And so she fights all these duels to save the prince. Or first, she just fights the duels because whatever, this guy challenged her to a duel and she's got the ring that lets her fight. So what the fuck ever. That was pretty much her response to it. And she ends up winning. And it goes from just straight sword duels to like, in the second arc, there's a bunch of desks with like silhouettes of dead bodies painted on the ground in the dueling arena, and the desks arrange themselves at the end of every duel. To at the very end, there's like cars going around the dueling arena, and people are riding them while they're dueling. It's a trip and a half. The music, like there are songs that play for every single duel, and they're all highly metaphorical. So if you don't actually know the metaphor, it sounds like they're singing gibberish about fossils for some reason while somebody's fighting. But it has a really cool aesthetic of like military style uniforms and rose petals and weird ass music. If you like weird shows, you'll probably enjoy it.
What? On this channel, weird shows?
And then, so I showed that to Laura, and she goes, "Hey, this friend of mine in high school showed me this anime called Neon Genesis Evangelion, and it's really good. Do you want to watch it?" So she came over freshman year of high school. She came over to my house, and it was hard for us to actually hang out together because my mom never wanted to drive me anywhere because she was always tired from working. I managed to actually like have her over to my house, and we watched the entire series of Neon Genesis Evangelion in the span of 24 hours.
Oh. Oh, that was
Poor brain.
I don't remember a lot of what happened at the end of that show except for Powder's head falling off.
And Sunny D.
Talking about like
Congratulations!
Yeah. Oh my god. Talk about anime that like messes with your head. Serial Experiment Lane.
I somehow knew that you were going to say that. That still has one of the best opening songs of anime history, in my opinion.
Pretty good.
And then I got into sophomore year and joined marching band. And most, not all, but most of the girls in the color guard with me were bitches. So I hung out with the trumpet players because they were all nerds. And one of the trumpet players was like, "Hey, have you heard of this thing called Naruto? I hear you like anime. Naruto's really good. Do you want to read it?" And he handed me this CD spindle that had downloaded scanlations of all the manga.
Holy shit, really?
Yes, and that's how I got into Naruto. And I showed it to Laura and Adam, and they got the bootleg DVDs
No
that were
way.
basically fan subs that somebody burned onto a DVD and stuck a printed label on and sold on eBay.
That is incredible.
Oh, I've got a story like that one too. There was an anime called Genshiken.
Oh, I
I've heard of
fucking
that.
love Genshiken.
Yeah. And I got like the first 2 seasons for like a couple bucks on YouTube on eBay. I get them and like, oh yeah, these are 100% bootleg.
Completely.
Yeah, like completely ripped from the original DVDs. The cases had like odd cuts on the
They so bootleg they got legs.
yeah.
The great thing is that in the Naruto episodes that were burned to these DVDs, the fan subbers had actually put "not for sale" or "rent,"
Eh.
Oh,
and then somebody sold it.
It's
It was-
probably gone by now. But what was that site? Bio?
Datebayo. They were the subtitle. They were the big subtitling group for Naruto once it got huge.
Yeah.
Because there were a bunch of them for a while, and then Datebayo kind of took over. And at one point, I got Chinese bootleg Yu-Gi-Oh DVDs that were okay. So China bought the rights to subtitle Yu-Gi-Oh in Chinese. So they translated it into Chinese, and then they took the Chinese translation, and somebody who does not actually speak English translated the Chinese translation into English and put it on the DVDs. And sometimes, if you got lucky, you could find them on eBay. Those were the funniest goddamn subtitles I have ever seen in my life. They're not consistent at all. At one point, they're calling the Blue Eyes White Dragon the Green Eyed White Dragon, despite the fact that the voice actors in Japanese say Blue Eyes White Dragon in English. There's 2 episodes where they call Kaiba Seahorse the entire time because that's what his name means, and they call
Right.
Mokuba Woody.
Wow.
The Millennium Puzzle is the Millennium Brick.
This sounds a lot like the really terribly subbed Star Wars DVDs.
It's the exact same principle. It is the
Okay.
exact same principle, except it is Yu-Gi-Oh, and there's no internal consistency whatsoever, which makes it even
Nice.
better. And then I think it was actually you, Justin. A bunch of my friends at Wednesday Night Youth Group were like, "Hey, this anime called Beck is really good. You should watch it."
That was me.
That was you, and you
That's
gave
my
me the
fault.
DVDs of it, and that anime still sticks with me because I love anime for what it is, and I loved it for what I knew it as back then. But what I knew anime as back then was people have cool powers and fight.
Right.
But there's a story and actual real characters instead of it just being generic whatever. And Beck was not like that. Nobody has special magical powers, actual magical powers.
Other
in
than
Beck.
the ability to make a dog out of 27 different dogs.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that
But
does.
there's
Explain
no-
that shit.
There's no fights. There's no big bad except for self-doubt.
Well, there was one bad
And-
dude.
There was one bad dude, but it's not like they were trying the entire series to defeat him in an
Right.
epic showdown at the climax, right? Like, you have to have antagonistic characters, but there was no evil Emperor Zurg. There was no
The antagonist was life.
Yeah.
yeah, the antagonist was in ourselves all along. But it was just these kids in a band, and it wasn't even like any of the American stuff I'd seen that was all like Simpsons and Friends and like, weekly haha funny TV. It was completely different, and it completely opened the door to what anime could be for me. It was my first real experience with anything resembling slice of life or just pure storytelling. And
Beck was influential enough in our friend group to cause one of my closest friends for the rest of my life. I was the best man at his wedding, and he played guitar at his wedding while I sang because he picked up the guitar because of Beck.
I
His
didn't
first-
know that was because of Beck.
That is the reason why Mark picked up a guitar, is that he saw Beck, and like one of his first electric guitars that he ever bought was not a replica, but it was the same model. It was the same model yellow Stratocaster that Koyuki used.
Aw.
Yeah, like seriously, Beck is one of the most influential shows of like my entire life. And here's like another thing, Carrie, if you haven't gone and read the conclusion of Beck, I think a good thing for you to do over a week span is start from the beginning and read all the way through. You will not regret it.
I will have to do that at some point. But yeah,
It's,
I mean, I think part of it was like they're all this bunch of like random outcast kids, and they find their family with each other, and that was our friends group basically.
Yeah, seriously. That's just how it
And-
worked out for us.
It really was made to hit in America.
It was. was. Oh, and during all of this whole thing going on, because high school was when my nerd flag really learned to fly, I started a Pro Boards forum because I found out that you can do that for free, and I called it Konoha Village. And it
Oh,
was all
boy.
things Naruto. And this friend I made on fanfiction.net, who we don't talk about anymore, was like, hey, I should get my boyfriend to join this. He would like it.
It was me. I was the boyfriend of the terrible person.
And now you're
And
a
she
beautiful
introduced me to
bearded boy.
Carrie. And we became really good friends. And she
Really?
convinced me to move to Florida. And here we are. Life is weird.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
started
Life is super fucking weird.
a shitty Naruto forum that has like maybe 100 members at its peak popularity. Super close knit people, interactive fan fiction, and the man I'm marrying I met because I happened to, on a whim, start a forum one day.
Life is pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
it is.
yeah, fast forward to us continuing to be geeks, kind of questioning Crunchyroll at first because of their questionable opening, but then Sailor Moon Crystal came out and Magical Boy Sailor Moon came out. And at that point, Crunchyroll was more legit. So I'm like, you know what? I want to watch this in HD. Why the fuck not? And that
then,
was.
And then Crunchyroll made Verve.
I love Verve. I'm pretty happy with that service.
The verve of some people.
And really quick for anybody who has not seen Beck and wants to, as much as I prefer subs for my own personal preference, obviously whatever you want to watch. If you like dubs, if you don't have the patience to read subtitles, if you have kids who can't read subtitles yet because they're still learning how to read, if you just like English voice acting better because there's different aesthetics, that's okay. However, I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice if you watch Beck in the dubbed form, because two of the main characters in Beck spend a significant portion of their lives in New York, which means they are bilingual, which means the Beck sub is bilingual. They speak Japanese and they also speak English. Now it is English. Whoever wrote those lines did not actually speak English as a first language and did not have someone who spoke English as a first language to proofread them. And so it gets Englishy, and so is the music, but that's part of the magic. But I feel like putting it all into one language takes away from it. So I would encourage you, if you watch Beck, to give the sub a try so that you can fully appreciate, because it's part of the story too when they switch between Japanese and English. So give the sub a try. It's, if nothing else, you'll enjoy the English because it is something else.
My favorite line of English in any anime ever is from Beck. It is, "What are you, a rapper, a singer? We are the world." It's still the best and worst line out of in English. It's just the best.
There's also, this gem of a screenshot, which is my favorite screenshot from an anime of all time.
Hillbilly Chicken Danger so good.
This is from the opening, and there's also a church sign that says "Pray or you will become prey."
I don't remember that.
That's kind of deep.
Watch the opening; it's there.
Gosh, it's been a while.
But yeah, and so still letting our nerd flag fly, and that led to us camping out for a Nintendo Switch, and just happened to be in line right behind CJ.
Oh, what lives we live.
Yeah, it was a fun day.
Yeah, it was. Alrighty, Josh.
You've got limited time left. You must go.
I am the oldest person here. I am not the oldest person on the network, but I am the oldest person present. My history with anime goes as far back as I can remember. When I was very tiny, I would watch Voltron, Transformers, which Transformers is anime technically.
Right.
It's a Japanese product. I used to think Thundercats was, but that was
It's
its own
Hanna-Barbera.
special. That was its own special thing. But it had the same visual aesthetic going for it that a lot of anime at that time frame did. And I would remember my dad talking about things like Speed Racer and Johnny Sacco and his flying robot and
Forgot about Speed Racer.
Tobor
Speed
the
Racer.
And yeah, so I grew up with a lot of things that were anime without me actually knowing what that even meant. Voltron was just Voltron. I didn't realize it was English people talking over a cartoon made across the sea, something called Go Lion, because there were lions and there was 5 of them. But I think the big gateway drug for me came in the delightful form of Ronin Warriors when it was first syndicated on American television in '95 when I was 10. And I saw this show with these kind of oddly animated people doing really fucking cool things with samurai armor that was brightly colored and showed up out of nowhere. And they would call out attack names and things would explode. And I'm sitting here going, yes!
Yeah!
This is so fucking cool!
When do I get my armor?
Yeah, let me see. I got some rolls of wallpaper here. Throw those into the air. But the dub was so bad.
That's awful.
But the funny thing was, the absolute hilarious thing about the Ronin Warriors dub is, as bad as the dub is, the official subtitles are so much worse. I own the DVDs, the only ones that are officially released at the moment.
Oh, they're so disgusting.
Apparently there's another set in the works by some other company, but they haven't gotten them done yet. But the official subtitles are not only almost completely incomprehensible, much like that statement, but sometimes they just full stop. There will be lines and lines of dialogue and just nothing at the bottom of the screen, and you're left going, I don't speak moon runes, what's going on? But that was the gateway for me. It was so cool, and I wanted more stuff like this. And Cartoon Network came out, and we got Dragon Ball, we got Sailor Moon, we had Cardcaptor Sakura on the WB. You know, all of that stuff that we got, you know, sparingly, but was there. And then Adult Swim started doing its thing. And Fooly Cooly happened. And my mind was blown.
Fooly Cooly, you do it like
as
this.
As if struck by a guitar.
And a giant robot came out.
I wish. Nothing would make me happier in life.
Wouldn't life just be better if we had Contis?
So much better. So much
My house
better.
would be way cleaner all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
Man.
But I was also probably one of the few members of this group that hard fell out for a while. There was a period in my life where I was trying very hard to get away from the geekier side of things. Trying to be a normal person, trying to like normal things. Spoiler warning, it didn't work out real well at all. But in the falling out of anime, I found tokusatsu. I wound up watching Kamen Rider Kabuto. Because, hey, this is a TV series about transforming superheroes that are Beetle-themed. And the only thing we got that was close to that in America was fucking Big Bad Beetleborgs, which was also tokusatsu. But I digress. Hottest of garbage.
Right.
But what I found in tokusatsu was that Saturday morning love child again. that feeling of having the bowl of Cocoa Puffs and something completely mind-blowingly awesome in live action this time around, that just brought me back into that childhood sense of, yeah, good guys beating bad guys. This is awesome. And I was on that train for the longest time. I was watching no anime, reading no manga, just toku, 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 toku. Give it to me. I love it. And eventually, I started reading manga again, watching anime again, hopped on the Naruto train, and unfortunately never got off. I rode that train into the bitter crash at the end, and I hated myself for it.
Josh, did you ever take a break from Naruto?
I wanted to. But once I started reading the manga was great for a long time.
Right.
And then it hit that point where, Jesus Christ, I want to stop, but I can't.
Okay, so you never actually took like a break from reading it?
No.
Did you read the entirety of Bleach?
No.
Okay. All right. I'm one of the crazy people, I guess, that I started the big three and I never stopped any of them. Like, I've never taken a One Piece hiatus. I read
Well, you
Naruto
wouldn't have been able
through to the
if,
end.
If you took a One Piece hiatus, you'd never finish it.
Fun
Right.
fact, I took a One Piece hiatus because of a very significant death in my family. I did not read any manga for a very long time. I started One Piece over from the beginning and I'm now current.
Damn.
Well, you're a reading machine.
True.
This is true. I read Oathbringer in a week.
I couldn't get into One Piece was the thing. I know it was part of the big three. I know it's beloved by millions of people, including his wife. BRB working on my material.
Right, exactly.
But I couldn't get into it. It was just the art style, even for Japanese stuff, was like, has this guy ever seen an actual human body?
Doesn't matter.
I know they're stylized, but Jesus Christ, what?
I blame his editors.
But he's the one drawing the stuff.
Yeah, I know.
He's the one who decides that, Nami gets a waist this big around and boobs this big around each.
True.
I used to hate One Piece. I resisted reading it a long time because of the art, and now the weird ass art is part of what I love about it.
I
And
100%.
those are some of the more normal characters. Don't even get me started on shit like Big Mom.
Oh god, this most recent arc is going to go nuts. Also, my camera is about to die, so I'm going to have to jump off now. I'm going to have to listen to the rest of this VOD so I can hear the rest of the grimoire of Josh McGrath. I'm very excited about this.
Oh
so
god, grimoire.
I stayed really long. I'm sorry, ZJ, that I couldn't stay all the way to the rest, but my iPad's dying and my charger is borked.
If you give me like 2 minutes, Justin.
Okay, I got 1% battery left on this thing. Let's roll.
He's trying not to break the stream is what's going on right now.
Got it. Hey, shut up, CJ.
It's not because he wants to. It's because he doesn't want to. It's
now
because
that's even
really
showing
can't.
up on the stream. I'm salt.
Salt. But yeah, I mean, for the longest time, it was just whatever I could get my hands on, I would just devour it. I watched the stuff that guys were supposed to watch. I watched the stuff that guys weren't supposed to watch. I caught my dad watching a few of the things late at night that I really shouldn't have been seeing.
So say we all.
But I mean, yeah, who I am as a person and where I am in my life is completely because of starting out watching things like Voltron and Ronin Warriors and wanting more. My love for giant robots and transforming superheroes and all of that has culminated in sitting here at 1:30 at night on a Monday after working all day, talking about this stuff with some of the nearest and dearest people to my heart on the internet.
Feels
I
good.
was on a panel a couple of weeks ago. People were there, including a really fantastic Haruka cosplayer who I really wanted to smack me because she actually had a face, but I didn't.
Yeah, people got up at ass AM at a convention to come listen to us talk about Studio Trigger. It was awesome.
That's
It
fucking
was
great.
really fucking surreal.
Oh, wait
And
till
if you are one of those
DragonCon.
people who is listening to this podcast, thank you for coming. It meant a lot.
You're
Really,
awesome.
really a lot.
I'm glad it really went really well.
But
So-
yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think about in that respect, but the fact that we are all here right now at this moment having this conversation is because at one point in our lives we all saw something kind of weird and different and really liked it.
Yeah, I mean, the internet. I mean, you gotta give it to the internet. I mean, it's really. If you were isolated, but you had the internet, you could find people who had your same taste. Yeah.
And that was the thing, because like I'm sure every last one of us heard it on a weekly basis. Don't talk to strangers on the internet; they're going to kill you.
Don't care.
That's why a lot of my friends still call me K-chan. Why a lot of people still call him Mosh is because that's why we still call our friend Maz. His name is not Maz. It is not anything near Maz. It's because we first met him as this guy from New Zealand on AOL Instant Messenger called Seraph Mazrakyle, and we're all a bunch of middle and high schoolers who know better than to say, "Hi, my name is Carrie Wilcox and I live in Florida," to somebody you've never met on the internet. And so for the longest time, it was like you knew these people as their handle. And being on a real name basis with somebody, of course, when you're in middle school, you think if they know your real first name, they can find you.
Mhm.
If you,
We love you too, Justin.
being on first name basis with somebody was a big fucking deal on the internet. But when you live in Texas, when you go to a small, tiny, private Christian school, I was lucky to have like the handful of nerd friends that I had. When I got to college, all of my trumpet player friends, or when I got to college, when I got to high school, all of my trumpet player friends were in middle school. And I hung out with them because they were nerds. And then I met my friend Mare, who was carrying around Shonen Jump magazine, and I was like, we are going to be friends.
That book you're carrying, it's the sign of our friendship.
But
Yeah, I mean, just Maz. It, like half the time I don't even remember that that's not his name. Like I know what his name is. I haven't forgotten it, but like he's not his actual name. He's just Maz.
Yeah, I mean, I know someone that still refers to Carrie as K-chan.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
Talking to strangers on the internet.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Totally works out.
yeah, that's why I'm never going to tell anyone. Well, I met these people online on the internet. What? You're going to meet internet people? Don't worry about it. I've met them already before, and they haven't murdered me yet.
Oh yeah, man. Speaking of the person who shall not be named, the first time I made it clear to my parents that I was going to visit her, I thought my mom was going to kill me.
Mhm.
My dad, of course, was all the, hey, be careful, don't do anything stupid, call if you need us, we trust you, because at this point in time I had been, burning through phone cards and shit to call her at, 12 o'clock at night to like 3 o'clock in the morning just to talk because we were that dumb for each other. But yeah, like actually going to visit her, this person I thought I loved that I had never actually physically met before. Like the shit we did primarily because we were geeks.
I forgot all about 10-10-220. Oh my god.
Oof. Oh my god, CJ.
Holy shit, CJ!
See, that was the really funny thing about that time of my life, because there were other strangers on the internet that I knew who would do things like actually buy phone cards for me to use to talk to this person.
Mhm.
because they thought it was adorable.
Pretty sure
Yeah,
I
and
would be buying phone cards right now.
you don't need phone cards, dude.
I
Yeah,
know, but if
we've
it
moved.
was,
Like, when was the last time you saw a telephone booth? Like a legit operational telephone booth, not part of some strange establishment that, may or may not require a secret passcode.
nope, I haven't seen one in a while.
But yeah, so if you guys are listening to this and, feeling a little out of place, it gets better.
This was actually something that I was debating going into when we were doing our Studio Trigger panel. Was the fact that there is one keystone to Trigger's work that has been consistent throughout the entirety of their body of work. And that is the fact that you should not be ashamed of who you are. In Gurren Lagann, Simon is always Simon the Digger. Even when he's trying to be more like Kamina, he can't be Kamina. He can only be himself. He can only be the digger. He drills. It's what he does. Yes, sometimes he's drilling through metaphysical entities outside of existence, but the drill is his soul. In Kill la Kill, it's Ryuko being okay with herself as who she is, not being ashamed of, the way she looks or anything like that, taking ownership of her physical appearance. In Kisniver, it's the bonds that you share with people that help define who you are. And it's a really important message that, might get drowned out in some of the more batshit crazy stuff that Trigger has done, but it's always there. And it's never not going to be true or important. Don't be ashamed of the things you love. Don't hold back on doing the things that you like to do or wanting to do things that you want to do simply because someone else might think it weird. Perspective is massively wild. What's weird to one person might not be weird to another person, might be someone else's favorite thing, might be something else somebody absolutely hates. But there is nothing wrong with any of that. At the end of the day, we are all individuals, and while we all might like different things, precisely subs versus dubs, shoujo versus shonen, drama versus action, horror versus fluff, there is that uniting fact that we all have this one thing in common, this media form that has connected us all in this delightfully bizarre fashion. And it's fantastic that we can be ourselves together. And I think that's something really special and important.
We got serious this evening. Which is
It's
great.
gonna happen on an episode like this. I mean, because we're
Yeah.
talking about, we're going through all of our history of anime, but when you're a geek, the things you like are part of your identity. I think that's part of why people get so passionate about, you don't like this show, you're wrong. It's because it feels like they're insulting you because the things we love becomes a part of us.
That's true. Yeah.
And so it makes sense that it's going to get a little bit personal, but it's good. It's the good kind of real talk because we love each other and we love our listeners. And we want you to know that no matter where you are, whether it is a tiny ass private Christian school, whether it's the middle of nowhere, whether it's a big city that has everything you could possibly want, there are people online who likes the things that you like and would be excited to talk to you about them.
Just be careful.
Yes, be careful. And also join our Discord.
Nice plug, Carrie.
Thank you.
But I banged the Discord first. Ha!
I heard you
I
typing,
win!
I heard you typing, so I stopped.
But yeah, I think that about does it for this episode. We've unfortunately lost a man along the way. Curse you, battery life.
Justin, you shall be avenged.
But yeah, we've already plugged the Discord where you can get a hold of us. If you want to email us, you can do so at show@geek-io.net. We are all over the social medias, totally legitly all over the social medias. We love the social medias at /geekio show. If you want to give the Geek Hotline a call, you can do so at 727-489-4335. That's 727-489-GEEK. Big surprise there. And yeah, thanks for coming to hang out with us tonight. Well, it might be today where you are. Don't know. And for myself, for Justin, rest in peace. For Carrie, Raul, and the rest of the Geek.io Media Network, thank you, and oyasumi nasai.
Don't forget, we got believe in you.
We got believe in you.
Hi, my name is Water Buffalo, and I hope you've enjoyed this Geek.io Media Network production. Copyright 2018, you see how that works?
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.